title.
Yes.
Now, my question is, the Christian clerical titles are outside the Jewish tradition, culture of Jesus.
Yes.
All right. First, why do Christians go to church?
Why do we go to church? It's that aspect of union in doctrine. We believe the same thing.
No.
We are...
Okay, it's aspect of union. It's fellowship.
Yes, fellowship.
All right. Yes. Fellowship based on what? A religion or a specific culture?
On the man. Christ.
Who had a culture.
How do you follow a belief system that you lack knowledge of? You use it as your spiritual navigator, but when asked basic to critical questions regarding your very own belief, you fail to respond. Religion came with the conquer and divide rule, manipulating the African people's identity and spirituality, leaving millions of African people today confused with their African spirituality. We see this from the likes of Ricky, a religious fundamentalist who was recently interviewed, but when asked basic questions about his very own belief, he failed to respond.
Yes.
We have the crusades of the special boy, golden boy Christians. If you do not accept Christ, I have the religious right to wipe out everything.
Yes.
Crusades happen. That's how Christianity was spread. Missionarism. The missionaries sat down in a conference and discussed people they don't even know and labeled them savage.
Yeah.
And said they have a divine prerogative.
That's why I said common descent.
The divine mission to civilize these savages. And they came here, raped, killed, murdered, ostracized, locked us up, colonized us. Now, what are the traits of a Christian godly man? Ngoba ngesintu, inhlonelo, ukuzithoba, ukuthembeka, ukuthanda.
That does not describe a godly person. Wait.
In Christianity.
Wait. That's why I said, doctor, listen, you have to understand why I say that. If I'm saying that for a reason. I'm saying that because if we now get into what doctrines, it now becomes a long conversation about that. Understand? Okay, wait.
How do I see a Christian godly man?
Don't use character. Do not use character. Understand? Guys, listen. That's not God.
How do you align with something that is not aligned with your African traditions? What are you doing following Jewish traditions? It is clear as day that Ricky does not know the origin of religion, or he is aware but is simply ignorant of its history, a history which involves his very own ancestors. Now, it is no secret that when religion was introduced to African people, it was not brought in a manner to liberate us as Africans. But this was a way for missionaries to keep us from reaching our spiritual maturity. They saw it fit to rip us away from our spiritual identities and introducing or giving us a false identity. How are you, as an African individual today, standing for a religion that murdered, raped, slaughtered millions of African people, converting them to this very religion? How do you stand for such a religion that came with so many African people's blood? Are you saying that what missionaries did was right? The inhumane treatment of African lives was right? Well, if you stand for such a religion, clearly that is what you are saying. Let us look at a comment which was given during this interview. African spirituality has always been in the forefront of African people's lives because they understood that staying in connection with their spirit guides was staying in connection with the spiritual realm. Now, whether you believe it or not, the spiritual realm plays a pivotal role in our daily lives, which is why it is important for us to always stay connected with the spiritual realm. But now, how do you connect with the spiritual realm when the very same thing you are following is not aligned with your African spirituality? Religion never came to liberate the African people, but religion came to separate the African people from their true African spirituality. If you as an African individual today is still standing for such a religion, What you are saying is that what missionaries did, the inhumane treatment they did to African people, the killings they brought upon Africans, the slaughtering that they brought upon Africans was right. That is what you are saying when you stand for such a religion in which does not allow you to reach your full spiritual maturity, a religion that is still keeping you as a slave. African spirituality is the way of life for Africans, and the sooner we realize it, the sooner we will start reaching our spiritual maturities and know our spiritual identities.
The Bible is not holy, it is not true, it is not reliable, it is not even good. The Bible is a collection of deliberate lies written by unknown men for the purpose of control and manipulation. The men who wrote it did not believe the stories they wrote, but they did believe they could control you and your mind with their fictional stories, and they were correct. Moses and Jesus never existed in reality. They are just fictional characters and fictional stories intended to control the minds of a group of people. Religion is an effective tool to control people with threats from a God that is also not real. We should be smart enough to recognize such an obvious scam in the 21st century, but humans in general are not very intelligent. Everyone wants to argue about what the Bible says as if it matters what the Bible says. The Bible is not true or holy. The Bible is actually evil lies. The only thing you can learn from the Bible is how to brainwash and manipulate other people with fictional stories about God. This is what the Romans learned from the Jews when they wrote the New Testament. This is what Muslims learned from the Christians when they wrote the Quran. And this is what Joseph Smith learned when he wrote the Book of Mormon. All holy books were written by men who were not different from us, except they were willing to lie for the purpose of manipulation and control of others. You are probably a good and honest person, which makes you particularly vulnerable to being manipulated by evil liars. It is time for humans to wake up and realize we've been duped. If you will read my book, Jesus Demigod, you will see clearly how religions are created by evil humans. My book proves who created Christianity and why. The principles used to create Christianity are the same schemes used to create all religions.
In Acts 5 verse 29, it clearly states, Peter and the other apostles replied, "We should obey God and not men." This clearly states that people should follow in God's commandments and not by what men instruct them. The Bible is a book that was written by men, a book that was inspired not by the words of God, but inspired by the controlling minds of men, because they wanted to control other people and create a one world order. So, as a religious fundamentalist, who are you exactly obeying?